Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Wintertooth is rolling out as they face off against Bretonnia, where we have the Chevaliers of Lyonesse with La Ponce on the opposite side of the field. So for Wintertooth is being led by myself, and then paddywampus is leading the Bretonnians. So for Wintertooth, we do have, of course, Throg leading the forces. He's just going to be bringing Foe Seeker. We also have a Shaman Sorcerer of Death bringing Spirit Leech and Soul Blight to give a nice little reduction in armor. For the the skirmishing forces here, we have 3 Marauder Horsemen flanked by a couple of Horse Masters, so going very heavy on the skirmishing ability here for Norsca. Frontline going to be a couple of Marauders, and then we're going to have 4 Marauder Berserkers to kind of chew through that peasant mob and get into those back lines as quickly as we can. The Fimir Warriors with great weapons, as well as the Mist Stalkers. So we have some nice anti-large in the form of the Fimir Warriors. They do have magic damage, armor sundering, and they do have bonus versus large, so they'll be very good against the Bretonnian cavalry. And then we just have a nice overall unit with the Mist Stalkers with their missile resist, and of course they have the magic damage, armor sundering, and armor piercing. So that will wrap things up for Norsca. We'll go over to Bretonnia. This is part of Zedagen's Showdown of the Lords. So these were randomly selected lords. So it is, of course, I had Throg, and Paddywampus did have Raponce. So with Raponce, though, since she is going to be using her sub-faction, he is going to be having Henry Le Massif, armor piercing, bonus versus large, fear, terror, and guardian. Very nice abilities there. We do have Raponce de Lyonesse as well. Take a quick look at what she is going to be bringing. She has Immunopsych, Fleur de Lis Banner, which is a nice +9 melee attack and melee defense to the surrounding units, and a Halo of Maidenly Wrath, and the Sword of Lyonesse as well, giving some nice additional buffs. We do have a Grail Relique providing some bonus to leadership, as well as immune to psychology to surrounding troops. Frontline going to be 4 peasant mobs, and then they will be backed up by some foot squires with their armor piercing values as well, which will help with the Mist Stalkers and Fimir Warriors. We have a couple of men-at-arms with polearms on the flanks, which will also help with those matchups, as well as dealing with any of the Marauder Horsemen and Horse Masters if they decide to get into things, helping protect these 2 peasant bowmen with pox arrows, so some nice poison damage coming in. And we have some more spearmen-at-arms in the back to protect those 2 units. And then mobility, we do have a couple of Grail Knights as well, very nice shot cavalry, help get some nice cycle charging in, but these skirmishing forces should be able to keep them at bay for the most part. And we do have the Damsel of Life, which is going to be bringing Earthblood, Shield of Thorns, and Regrowth, and that will be the armies, and we will be able to get right on into it here. So some shots already raining in on both sides. Peasant Bowmen doing some nice poking damage to the Horsemen. They really are kind of a very squishy skirmishing force. Their leadership isn't the best, and they take damage fairly easily, but these Horse Masters getting a nice free charge in the peasant mob, though Henry Le Massif is going to be trying and pushing them off, as they do take quite a bit of damage initially, but Henry Le Massif getting right into these Horse Masters, very good target for him to be dealing with, as long as these Horse Masters are stuck in combat, and they will be trying to pull out as quickly as they can. They do not want to be stuck into that. Otherwise, the Norskins are looking to overload the Bretonnian right flank as they're kind of shifting up that hill, trying to really focus on just a very small flank, because there is quite a bit of Bretonnian forces, and they just kind of want to focus down one particular side. Anyway, I see still getting some nice poking damage in. One of the horsemen were routed off by shots from the peasant bowmen, but if we take a look at the rest of the flank, these skirmishers are starting to break down the the chaff of the Bretonnians, and the nice side charge by these Grail Knights getting into these Marauder Berserkers, but these Mist Stalkers are going to be responding, and the Grail Guardians will be pulling out very quickly, getting some nice free damage. They're taking very little in return before those Mist Stalkers are able to respond in kind. Otherwise, these skirmishers are trying to whittle down the kind of big threats here, which is in the forms of these men-at-arms with polearms, able to keep them out of the picture and allow their Fimir Warriors and the rest of their cav, especially Throg, to kind of deal the damage that they need without being stuck in with those bonus versus large units. Otherwise, the front line is starting to engage. A nice Soul Blight going to be going down, minus 30 armor and base weapon damage as well, so that will especially help with those foot squires who are a bit more armored than the particular units. Though it looks like Response is using her Sword of Lyonesse, getting some nice bonus versus weapon damage and all that. And then Throg is going to be taking a nice charge from these Grail Guardians, but he is bonus versus large himself, so he should be able to deal the damage back fairly well. And we do have quite a bit of skirmishing forces in the surrounding areas, and Henry Le Massif is off chasing those Horse Masters, and those Horse Masters will allow that any day of the week. Keeping him out of the fight for as long as that is going to be very helpful for Norsca here. Green Knight's getting a nice charge in, or at least trying to get a charge into these Marauder Berserkers, though these Female Warriors with great weapons do screen that out fairly well, and they will deal damage back tenfold against them. They are the ideal target for, or the Grail Guardians are the ideal target for those Female Warriors. One of the units have been pushed off right now, and there is plenty of mobility for Norsca, so they should be able to just peel off one of these horsemen and deal with them fairly quickly. The Peasant Bowmen are still operational and firing, though the supporting units are starting to break down. Marauder Berserkers dealing some good damage to these pole arms. Otherwise, these two horsemen are starting to break down the chaff supporting, and we finally have one of the horsemen getting into the Peasant Bowmen at long last, and balance power is in Norsca's favor at this point, as the Female Warriors are kind of tag teaming it up, dealing some good damage to Rapance at this point. One of their big threats, these pole arms, are getting pushed off, and these foot squires have taken quite a bit of damage, as well as these Female Warrior are able to finish off these Grail Knights with another Soul Blight on top of these units, reducing armor and melee and the weapon damage on top of things. Finally, these two Peasant Bowmen have been routed off, but the Spearmen trying to salvage things, though they are going to be wavering themselves with all the shots raining in. And we do have some returning forces in the surrounding area. Some more Marauders return, but these just continuous poking damage from these horsemen have done quite a number on the Bretonnian forces. Grail Relique finally getting caught out by these Miststalkers, and yeah, Norsca kind of just allowed that leadership to kind of sustain itself. But now this last little pocket of Bretonnian forces, we still have some foot squires, and we have some polearms as well. But that's probably not going to be enough with how long Henry Le Massif was out of the picture. He wasn't able to provide that support. His keen target should have been Throg throughout that match. It would have been very, very good for that, but now it looks like a lot of these units are going to be routing. We still have very healthy Miststalkers and Female Warriors, and plenty of mobility is still left chasing off the remaining Peasant Bowmen, and it is really just going to be down to Rapance with her Mage and Henry Le Massif, who is finally getting on top of the Shaman Sorcerer right now, doing some decent damage, but he's taking a lot of poking shots from all these Marauder Horsemen. With the last of their ammo, they are getting a little bit low, and Throg is chasing after the Damsel of Life, and he is keeping up, surprisingly enough, even though the damsel is on horseback. Otherwise, the rest of the Norscan forces are starting to just push off the remaining troops. Foot Squires getting chased off. Actually, the Shaman Sorcerer at Death taking quite a bit of damage, though, from Henry Le Massif, though it looks like army losses will be kicking in, and Norsca will take it. So we take a look at the after-battle report. I think the biggest fault for the Bretonnians in this matchup was with Henry Le Massif. He did chase off the Horse Master. He was able to screen off the Horse Masters, at least one of the units, the one that only got 27 kills, but that Horse Master was able to pick up a chevron just from the damage they were able to continually poke away at Henry. But yeah, Henry definitely needed to be in that main engagement, helping to deal with Throg, and even like the Shaman Sorcerer, for example, getting those two out of the picture with his mobility, fear, terror, and like a terror route to the Norscan forces could have been very detrimental to them. And also these Grail Knights did not get their keen targets either. They were able to be screened out by the Miststalkers and Female Warriors fairly well, and then just the mass of horsemen was able to really clean up shop. They had the advantage in mobility in this particular matchup, able to push off all of the units that were able to rout and finally get into the Peasant Bowmen as well. I mean, this one racked up 208 kills. I mean, you did have a lot of peasants on the field, but that is still a lot of numbers to be seen for a skirmishing cavalry. I really do love the Horse Masters. They're really good fun. And then Marauder Berserkers just chewing through that front line as quickly as they could. But a very good match, and it was very, very fun series and tournament in the form of the Showdown of the Lords that was hosted by Zedagen. And that will be our video for today. I hope you all enjoyed, and as always, have a good one.